friends, it's Kristen. Welcome to today's video on how to create a self-care routine or how to improve your self-care routine. And this video is part of a 5-day challenge called the Chase Grace Challenge across my blog, Instagram, and here on YouTube, where I'm posting about practical and just simple tips for adding more grace in your life in 5 different areas, one area each day. Today I'm kicking it off talking all about self-care. And of course, since I wanted this challenge to be community focused and bring you all into it, I actually pulled my Instagram friends to finish a sentence about what self-care means to them. So I'm going to be sharing some of those ideas to share with you and maybe give you some new ideas for your self-care routine. If you want to see the full blog post, I've got that over on my website, kristenshane.com, and the link will be right down below so you can check that out or save the list of things for some new ideas for your self-care. So I'm just going to jump right in with my first tip for creating a self-care routine, which is to start small. And in the blog post, I kind of talked about my experience in really struggling to create a self-care or relaxing kind of night routine. About this time last year, I was just really struggling with kind of letting my brain shut off at the end of the day, and I just felt like I always had more to do at the end of the day. Even though I was getting a lot done, I just always felt like I was constantly chasing this never-ending to-do list. If you're feeling something like that, I can totally relate because I still see myself kind of leaning towards that tendency sometimes now, but I've really improved my practice of self-care and relaxing at the end of the day through these cues of when to know that it's time to shut off for the day. Regardless of how much I did or didn't get done, I have to let myself relax and unwind to even just be able to sleep at night. But I can definitely relate to that struggle of feeling guilty for taking time for yourself, for not knowing how to relax, or just not being able to, because even if you put on a face mask or take a bath, your mind is still running a million miles a minute thinking about all the other things you could be doing. So I can totally understand that, and that's why I think starting small is really the way to go. And for me, that meant finding a cue to signal relaxing time. And I write about this in the blog post as well. We are very habitual people. We really work well with routines and with kind of having the same routine every day or every week. You know, we kind of have these routines whether we notice it or not. So we work really well like that. And I kind of talked about how it kind of feels silly and like the Pavlov's dog experiment at first, but it really does work when you start with these small cues of things that signal your self-care or your relaxing time. So I know it sounds silly, but it really did work for me, especially when I was in that place of not feeling like I could relax at all. It took something as simple and just something as repetitive as, for me, lighting a candle or putting relaxing scents in my diffuser, and I only do that when it's time for me to unwind and stop worrying about everything at the end of the day. If you don't have something to kind of break up your day to go from busy to restful, it's no wonder that you can't relax, because your brain doesn't know when to stop and your brain doesn't feel like it has a specific time to stop. But maybe instead for you, it's putting on a comfy robe. And you only do that when you're done with your work for the day, and then you know that it's time to kind of relax and unwind. Maybe that's lighting a candle too, and you only do that at the end of the day when you're done and you can finally rest. Or maybe it's just reading a book. That was one of the comments that I had, that otherwise people would only read for school, but for self-care that means including reading for fun when they wouldn't otherwise. So just simple things like that that sound silly, but when you start adding that practice to your routine, your body learns and your brain learns when it's time to relax and when it means it's okay to actually relax and unwind. So start small, pick something that's simple for you that you only do when it's time to relax, and keep that as your relaxing self-care routine. My second tip that kind of goes along with the end of my first tip is to make self-care special. By that, I kind of just mean that it needs to be part of your routine, but also something that you keep as an actual just relaxing self-care practice and not something that you mix with others. But also to make it a habit. So if you're only doing your self-care once a month, it's obviously not going to be a habit, and you're not going to have that time as part of your routine. Even just taking the last 10 minutes of my day to just sit quietly and read without my phone on, or to give myself 30 minutes at the end of the day to light a nice candle and watch an episode on Netflix. Like, it has to become habitual to stay part of your routine and to stay special, but also something that you're going to keep doing to kind of let your brain learn that habit. Also, something that I included in this aspect of making it special is to give yourself time to relax and to slowly but surely give up the feeling of feeling guilty for taking time for yourself. And we have to sleep every day because your body needs that rest. And in the same way, your brain needs the time to rest and know when it's okay to not be working and to not be worrying about your to-do list. My third tip for creating a self-care routine is to know what works for you. And it's kind of hard to explain self-care or to define it because it is so different for everyone. And on the topic of knowing what works for you and kind of figuring out what you enjoy and what counts as self-care in your book, I polled my Instagram friends like I mentioned, and I wanted to share some of their responses just to show how different self-care is for everyone, but also to kind of show how a lot of the practices are very similar or have similar themes for truly just taking time for you and what you enjoy, and kind of just taking that mental break of time to not be running around doing a million things or trying to get everything done. Thank you if you submitted your self-care routine and practices with me. If you want to save the list, they're all on my blog post, so you can have that to reference for your next self-care time. But some of them included taking slow mornings, getting enough sleep, playing with pets, saying no to things when you're tired and know that you just need time to recharge, reading for fun, taking a long shower, spending the night in, and treating myself to a facial. Being in nature, sleeping, eating good food, that was a popular one, me too. Just listening to music, having a lazy day to read and relax and not feel that I'm not being productive guilt, which is so important. Going to sleep early, again, eating delicious food, wearing sweatpants, also can relate. Exercising, eating healthy, those were both popular ones too, and I think that's a really important part of kind of the habitual element of self-care, is just knowing what makes your body function the best and what makes you feel the best. Making time for myself, prioritizing my physical and mental well-being, and then making time for yourself even if that means a breakdown. And I think that's important to touch on too, just because that was kind of me a year ago, but I think it is important to let yourself feel what you're feeling so that you can understand why you're feeling that way as a way of moving through it. Because like I was just saying to one of my friends, ignoring things doesn't make them go away. So self-care also shouldn't become ignoring all your responsibilities as if they're going to go away. It's really just acknowledging that you can't get everything done in one day and you can't get everything done, period. But it is okay to relax and kind of turn off the world and just let yourself rest and be you for a minute and do what you enjoy. Cleaning my room, working out, and making time for Jesus and prayer. So those are a few of the responses and a few of the ones that I think are really important, and I hope that gives you a few more ideas of things you can include in your self-care routine. Like I mentioned, self-care is really hard to define, but I hope this helped encourage you and maybe add a little more grace to your self-care routine, because I think it is so important, and I really hope that you will make it part of your daily and weekly routine as well. If nothing else, I hope this post helped you learn that self-care is about a lot more than face masks and bubble baths, and while it can include those things, it really does take the mental adjustment to say it is okay to relax. You don't have to be on all the time. Nobody is made to be on all the time. That's not how we're meant to function, even if that means you have to save a couple more things on your to-do list for tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching and for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I hope you enjoyed this video and this blog post. Again, as I mentioned, there's 4 more days of this challenge coming at you. So I really hope you will be a part of it. It'll be across all my platforms, so be sure to keep up over the next couple days to see what I've got in store. That is all I've got for you. Be nice to people, be nice to yourself, and do something kind today. I'll see you in my next video.